أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قلتم يا موسى لن نصبر على طعام واحد فادع لنا ربك يخرج لنا مما تنبت الأرض من بقلها وقثائها وفومها وعدسها وبصلها قال تستبدلون الذي هو أدنى بالذي هو خير اهبطوا مصرا فإن لكم ما سألتم وضربت عليهم الذلة والمسكنة وباءوا بغضب من الله ذلك بأنهم كانوا يكفرون بآيات الله ويقتلون النبيين بغير الحق ذلك بما عصوا وكانوا يعتدون. We are reading Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 61. This first talks about the Bani Israel asking Musa alayhi salam to bring them, instead of man wa salwa, they want baqalha wa qissaiha wa fumiha wa adasiha. They want the products of earth from like vegetables, cucumbers, like foom. Some people have translated as wheat, but usually it's a foom. Foom is like a thum. Thum is garlic. They want garlic, they want onion, they want others, lentils, and all these vegetable products of earth. So they want these. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this letter, in the verse, He says, okay, you go into the towns and you live there in this Durbat alayhim فَإِنَّ لَكُمْ مَا سَأَلْتُمْ. Whatever you are asking for, we're giving it to you. Take it. But there's something. بِأَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الذِّلَّةُ وَالْمَسْكَنَةُ وَبَاءُوا بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. The three things. You will be stamped with this zillat, humility, living in disgrace all over the world. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. This is living as zillat, with people of zillat. This is one thing. The second thing is maskanat. You will be rich, outside, outwardly, you are plenty, millionaires, billionaire, and all of this, and instead of all the monies and palaces and this, you will live as miskin. You will live with humility. In humility, you will not be able to live, with dignity, with good, behavior. You will live in despised everywhere. Wherever you go, you will live as despised people, hated people, because you behave hatefully to other nations, and because the reason it further comes up in this verse, and also I'll read the other verses. بِالزِّلَّةِ وَالْمَسْكَنَةِ وَبَاءُوا بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. And you will have this wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just holding on to you as Tur was holding on, mountain, as if it's going to fall down on you. So this is ba'u bi ghadab min Allah. Zalika, now it gives the reason why. Zalika bi annahum kanu yakfuruna bi ayatillah. Because you rejected, denied the verses of Torah, the verses of Quran, verses of Injil, and ayatillah, and other miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You denied, you rejected. So most of the people now calling themselves Jews, they say we are secular and we are atheists and we are this and this. So this, because you reject the verses, the signs, miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this one, وَيَقْتُلُونَ النَّبِيِّينَ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ. And because of your killing of these prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the earth. So this is one reason. Now, I was looking at this tafsir of Maulana Muhammad Shafi, and it has been translated by some scholars, and by his son has revised, Maulana Muhammad Taqi Sahib. This translator is Muhammad Hassan Askari and Professor Muhammad Shamim. These people have translated this. This one, verse number 61, explain it. He brings up also the verses of Surah Al-Araf, verse 167, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you will never have, a sovereign state of your own. And then he also brings up a verse of Al Imran, verse number 112. ضربت عليهم الذلة أينما ثقفوا إلا بحبل من الله وحبل من الناس. And verse number 167 of Surah Al-Araf, where it says, وَإِذْ تَعَزَّنَ رَبُّكَ لَيَبْعَثَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ يَسُومُهُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ. Up to the day of judgment, he will raise from among people some people who will bring you to this, bring you, great punishment for you, ever and ever, ever and ever, up to the day of judgment. This will happen to you. This is in Surah Al-Araf, verse number 167, and of course we will explain it there also. But here, I will refer to some passages of the Pentateuch, the Torah, 5 books of Torah. In book of Leviticus, he says, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, verse, chapter number 26 and verse number 17, and then also Deuteronomy, the 5th book, in chapter number 28, and verse number 33, and also verses number 48 to 51. He says, if you do not obey my commandments that were given to you in Torah, then there will be punishment for you forever and ever, ever and ever for you. So this is not only in Quran, but it's also in Torah. Those 3 passages, maybe I'll read later on. But now I want to read the explanation of Maulana Shafi Muhammad Sahib, translated by Professor Shamim and Professor and these other translators, and also revised by our Maulana Muhammad Taqi Sahib. So he says, this episode of asking for vegetables and lentils and onion and garlic and lentils and all, he says this has been indirectly referred to in verse number 58, and it also occurred in the wilderness of Tih. The Israelites grew weary of eating the man and salwa, and manna and salwa quails. So, whatever it means. Every day, so a man wished to have ordinary vegetables and grain. Vegetables or grain, qissaiha or fumiha, some says baqaliha, qissaiha was fumiha, adasiha. So fum is sometimes translated, some people translate it with grain, other people translate it with thum. Fum and thum are the same, and fum is garlic. Some is garlic, so if they want garlic and onion and these things, smelly things, instead of man and salwa. So anyway, and wish to have ordinary vegetables and grain, or vegetation of earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them through Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam to go to a certain town which lay somewhere in the wilderness, to till the land there. You don't till the lands in towns. You till them in the countryside, but they were, because they come there for market to be sold, and then they buy them, and so you live there. So anyway, whatever it means, to grow, to eat whatever they liked. Of course, Jews have been herders, sheep rearers, breeders, and all this, and Jews were at the time, and then also they were plowmen and farmers. So the Israelis were thus being ungrateful, he says, Maulana Shafi Sahib says, and impertinent, disrespectful. Even otherwise, it was so usual with them, and not only to transgress divine commandments, but also to deny them outright, deny the commandments outright. So they had also been slaying a number of prophets at different times during the days of Isaiah and Jeremiah. Many prophets were killed. They knew they were committing a misdeed, but their hostility to the truth and their stubbornness in disobedience made them blind to the nature of their conduct and its consequences. Through such persistent and willful misdemeanor, they drew upon themselves the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Disgrace and degradation settled upon them forever. So this is, the reason why they are despised all over the world by all nations. They say it's anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Semitic. It's your behavior, which brings back wrath of people and of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and human beings also, to the way you have been behaving for the last 70 years. So anyway, Maulana Mufti Sahib says, that is to say, they no longer had any respect in the eyes of others, nor magnanimity in themselves, except for a few people, who are generous and nice and, people of conscience, people of ilm and knowledge. One form of this disgrace, Maulana Sahib says, one form of disgrace is that temporal power has been taken away from them forever. This is in Surah Al-Araf, verse number 167 or 66, whichever number, and for only 40 days, however, and that too when the day of judgment will have come close. The Dajjal, the Antichrist belonging to the Jewish race, will have an irregular dominion like that of a robber. So actually, this Dajjal maybe Ben Gurion up to Netanyahu, this is the Dajjal. Perhaps, we don't know. So those 40 days is just an expression, metaphorical. It may mean, 40 years or maybe 40, 70 years, maybe 80 years, but no more. They have to go. They have to, stop this nonsense. And these figures that come from Bible or from Hadith or from other places, they are not in Quran actually, but in Hadith, the figures, they are metaphorical figures. And when we say one day and so many days, 1 year, one like this and one like this, so these are metaphorical and they have different meanings. And the book of Daniel, book of Revelation, they have different meanings. And so one day may be 1 year. So 40 day means 40 years, or 40 years means 40 multiplied by this and that. So these figures can be calculated in different ways. We don't understand. This is just visions of those prophets or sages or saints or whatever. So anyway, but they have to go. One form of this disgrace is that temporal power has been given to this Dajjal, Antichrist, belonging to the Jewish race. Will have come close to the Dajjal, Antichrist, belonging to the Jewish race, will have an irregular dominion like that of a robber. Very beautifully put. this person, Ben Gurion and other people, they have got this as a thief from British Empire, and then American Empire has been helping them, and then Germans threw them out, but they are supporting them now. French are supporting them now, and this Australia are supporting them now. Just like a thief. Oh Allah, how apt this explanation is, that they come as a thief. And this cannot be described as having temporal power in the proper sense of the term. As you see, they say Israel has come and Quran is not true and turns out to be false or whatever. No, he has come as a thief, and they have come as a thief. And this is only one generation. Last time the Crusaders came as thieves. The robbers, they came, and then they stayed there for 70 or 80 or years, and then they had to go. This time also, inshallah, this 70 years has already passed, maybe 10 more years, maybe some few more years, couple of years more. We don't know how long, but the time has come. 70 years already has come. So those 40 days is just a metaphorical way of saying 40 years or 80 years or whatever years. This time has come now. And he says, this Dajjal come as a robber. This cannot be described as having temporal power, authority in the proper sense of the term. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made it quite clear to the Jews through Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, and I have quoted this Leviticus and book of Deuteronomy. It is there, in Leviticus 26 chapter, and Deuteronomy chapter number 28. Both of these, say, if you don't behave, and then I'm going to do this to you. And it's very, very well written there, very clear. So he says, this cannot be described as having temporal power in the proper sense of the term. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made it quite clear to the Jews through Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam that if they continued to be disobedient, they would always have to live under the domination of other nations. So it says the Holy Quran, وَإِسْتَعَزَّنَ رَبُّكَ لَيَبْعَثَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ يَسُومُهُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ. I will bring forth, and when your Lord proclaimed he would send forth against them unto the day of judgment, resurrection, those who should visit them with evil chastisement, with hard, just like this fellow in the last century, the middle century, how they have been misbehaving afterwards, and with these Palestinians. Look at them and look at the people who are supporting them. Look at them, and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is coming. As to how the companions of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how their successors, tabi'in, tabi'in, and the great commentators have interpreted the disgrace and degradation which has settled on the Jews, let us present a summary in the words of Ibn Kathir. He says, Maulana Mufti Sahib quotes Ibn Kathir, لا يزالون مستزلين من وجدهم استزلهم وضرب عليهم الصغار. No matter how wealthy they grow, they will always be despised by their people. Whoever God gets hold of them, whoever gets hold of them will humiliate them and attach to them the emblems of servitude, saghar. So this is Ibn Kathir, and he's quoting from Dahak, from Ibn Abbas. The commentator Dahak Ibn Muzahim reports from the blessed companion of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, that the Jews will always remain under the domination of others, will be paying taxes and tributes to them. That is to say, they will themselves never have power and authority in the real sense of the term. So they say, okay, why this state of Israel exists? Now it does not exist on its own. It's on the authority and power of America. If it stops power and is supporting it, for British and this is France and this is England, Germany, they stop supporting it. It collapses in one day, in 1 minute. And so this is the situation now. Every time. Now Maulana Mufti Sahib says the commander of they will themselves never have power and authority in the real sense of the term. And another verse of the Holy Quran he quotes, Maulana Mufti Sahib, also speaks of the disgrace of the Jews, but with some addition. And this is in Surah Al-Araf, Al-Imran, verse number 112. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Durbat alayhimu zillatu aynama suqifu illa bihablim min Allah wa hablim min nas. Now, he explains this meaning. He says, and disgrace has been stamped over them wherever they are. Wherever they are found, unless saved through a rope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or through a rope from men. Hablim min Allah wa hablim min nas. So habl, here he says covenant or pact or, help from other people. Other people here in our situation in modern times means British, American, 1917, this fellow Balfour, he wrote this, and all these Jews were saying, how about, and then they were helping them in allies during the First World War. And so this is hablim min nas, the rope or the help from mankind, other people. But when it stops, when the people of America realize, when the people of Britain, France realize that they are a burden, they are like parasite on them, they will stop helping them and they will collapse in one day. And this is what it means. Here now the rope or means, it says, Maulana Sahib says, now the rope of or means from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refer to the cause of those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has through his own commandment saved from this disgrace. For example, children, women, or those who are totally devoted to prayer and worship and never go to war against Muslims. These people will be helping them. The rope also means from men, or refers to a treaty of peace with the Muslims or a permission to live in a Muslim country on payment of the jizya, the tax levied on non-Muslims living in a Muslim country, which exonerates them. Since the Holy Quran uses the expression from men and not from Muslims, a third situation is also possible. He says a situation is that the Jews may make political arrangements with other non-Muslims, as Christians, or secularists or whatever, and live under their backing and protection, and thus be in peace with them, but not with peace of the whole world. There's another aspect to the question. He says, Maulana Mufti Shafi Sahib says, we must look into the nature of the exception that has been made in the verse which we have just cited. He says, now when an exception is added to a statement, the exception may fall into either of these two categories. One, what has been accepted, formed or still forms a part of what it has been accepted from. For example, take this statement. He gives examples, but I will go on to read on the other hand, he says, if the exception is of the second kind, the verse would mean that the Jews as a group would essentially and always remain in disgrace, with the exception of some who may find protection under the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or of some others who may receive support from other nations, and this disguise their own disgrace. And then this verse number 112 of Surah Al Imran helps to elucidate verse number 61 of Surah Al Baqarah, and also dispels the doubt which sometimes arises in the minds of the Muslims. So there is no real occasion to have a misgiving about what the Holy Quran has said on this subject, Maulana Mufti Saab says. And further on, moreover, the half of Palestine which the Jews have usurped and the parasite state they have set up there is no more than a spot on the map of the world. As against this, we have vast expanses of the globe of people who do not, covered by Christian states, by Muslim states, by Hindu state, and all these other people are living in, these, and even by the states of people who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all, these seculars. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made to settle upon this Jews, these Zionist people. I will translate it like Zionists, not Jews. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الزِّلَّةُ وَالْمَسْكَنَةُ وَبَاءُوا بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يَكْفُرُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَيَقْتُلُونَ النَّبِيِّينَ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ ذَلِكَ بِمَا عَصَوْا وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسول النبي الكريم. نحن ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت رب العرش العظيم.